Greetings, greetings. This is Iyanda Siraj, the Eclectic High Priestess. I hope that I'm finding you well and in high spirits. We're back with a direct contact message. Freedom. Freedom. Freedom means something different for everybody. But how is freedom manifesting in your reality right now? What shifts did you make to allow this sense of freedom to be? Like to allow yourself to be in this space of freedom. And like I said, what does that look like for you? For some, there's a freedom from self, from the old, okay, I just saw paradigm, but from the old self, okay, freedom from the old self. And it's not even just you. It's more so all those little remnants in others that were still being mirrored to you to let you know that you hadn't quite released the old version. You hadn't quite surrendered. Delusion of Control, Orion. Yeah. Freedom from I'm picking up this energy of just like every day leaving the house, never free from negative thoughts, never free from what might happen, never like, I'm just getting this energy of like that's constant energy of getting out, and there's always something to be concerned about. So some of us are experiencing freedom from that very thing. And the reason delusion of control came up is because the only reason we would fear that way or to that level is when we think that we have to be 100% in control or know everything that's going around in order to be safe. To feel like our safety, our well-being is only in our hands. Okay, so basically, it's that we forget that there is protection and that everything does not lie on us. Okay, everything does not fall on us. I'm also seeing like a remote control, like, okay, so this is like having foresight, knowing what like having seen a movie already. So you've seen the movie already, you already know what's going to happen, and having the remote and attempting to fast forward until you get to the part that you really want to get to. So I feel like there is an energy of some people are trying to rush a process or rush something. You got a vision of your entire life. You didn't get a vision of the next 3 years. This thing says snails and cinnamon. Snails and cinnamon. And snails this time, of course, talking about slowing your pace. But I feel like, also with the cinnamon talks about adding sweetness, adding richness to your life, blessings of money and abundance, fertility. And so paired with the snails, I almost feel like there's this instance like there's delicacy to a situation. And if you try to push it too much, you're going to constantly feel like you're not getting the outcome that you want or the result that you want. So yeah, it's like I said, trying to fast forward through a movie just because you're trying to get to that good part. I have a feeling that there's somebody listening who knows something. Maybe you have information about something. Maybe you've seen something in dreams or something like that, and You are on edge, waiting for it to happen. Hey, Lori. I'm so glad you're here. I just be looking off at the curtains when ain't nobody here. Thank you. Hey, Lori. It's so good to see you too. Um, but yeah, having this foresight will almost make you feel like you have to make it happen. And the crazy thing is, it's like the opposite. The foresight is given to you so you have a sense of faith. The foresight is given to you so that you can carry a sense of knowing, okay, about where you're going. Hmm. But that delusion of control, since embracing family showed back up at the bottom, I do feel this thing where, you know, okay, I'm hearing you're the healer, but you can't heal everybody, right? So there's definitely this God complex or savior syndrome tied to family, tied to friends and people close to you, tied to people even that you just see a lot of value in, but you have no control over how their process goes, over whether or not, they make it over the threshold or however you want to put that, but you don't have control of that. And it may be a little uncomfortable to think about leaving people as you move on or as you move forward, as you ascend, whatever the case may be for you. But as you move forward, it may be difficult to leave people behind, but that's you telling God, you letting the universe know that basically your place. You know that those people will be saved. If it's part of the plan, if it's in the will of the Most High. Hmm. Okay. Spiritual commitment. Hmm. With Vega in the future. Uh, you know, both of these are nines. So we do have a lot of energy of kind of like, huh. I just saw an image of somebody's head cut off. The head is the house for our mental faculties. It's representative of like the direction you're going in, the path you're going in. It houses your crown chakra, right? So this is, I don't know what this spiritual commitment would say, that maybe we are taking ourselves out of, not maybe, I guess we're moving out of the more material realm where we feel like anything that's going to be created is going to be created with our hands, that it's going to be tangible. Okay, so there's something about transitioning from that understanding, even that, if I'm going to have money, I have to work, even that mentality, although we understand how it's useful. There's something about that that's also being cleaned up the more we commit to seeing ourselves as a spirit being, okay? As a spirit being. When we see ourselves that way, we can more fully commit to a relationship with spirit, our ancestors, guides, God, angels. But until we see that, because I feel like there's this disconnect when it comes to coming into union with your, like, I guess, your higher self, here, your lower self feels like things need to make sense, they need to have control, they need to know the processes. But there is something here about that not being the case. um Also, the word skip is popping up in my mind. Skip, So I don't know what's the message for the word skip. Skip a beat. Pulse of life. Skip a beat. That does feel like that's a thing. Galactic Core. Ooh, I love that. There is a cool transition here that comes from us wrestling with the 3D and the tangible, to us acknowledging our oneness and dedicating ourselves to exploring that and expanding that energy. And what it does is it ushers in a synchronicity. You have an abundance of synchronicity that flows into you when you are truly like connected. And I'm not just talking about numbers. Let's just get out of that. Let's just get out of thinking about just numbers. Okay. Numbers are important. Numerology is important. It is an indicator. They are signs, but let's start paying attention to the real life things that are happening. Okay. That are synchronistic, that are clues that we are getting closer to what we set out to do. Okay. Because I do feel like because we are looking for numbers, looking for, there's certain things that whoever you are out there, it's like you're looking for certain things to validate or to confirm, to give you this nudge or vote of confidence. And they're there. I'm sure you are getting numbers, I'm sure you are getting things like that, but the reality is the numbers are just a tool to make you to connect, to make you check in with yourself. I always tell people, they're like, well, how do I know what these numbers mean? I always say, what were you doing at that time? What were you thinking at that time? How did you feel at that time? And then those numbers, of course, you can go to the basic numerology and figure out what the meaning is of the numbers themselves. But the reality is that the numbers just got your attention. And so you're supposed to be tuning into you to see what it was that was trying to show you or bring your attention to. A lot of times we get caught up with the numbers. I also read somewhere recently that actually those numbers are code activations. And the way she was speaking about them, what's this lady's name? Star Blossom something. She's a channel, Galactic channel. And she works more with the false matrix that many people are falling into with new age practices. So she was speaking about those numbers, those number sequences. And I don't think that in general they're evil, but I think that because we're all looking to them for guidance, that they may be being used to misguide. You know what I'm saying? Since we're making ourselves so open to that as a yes or a no, then those very things could be being used against us. Okay. But anyway, now, back to the pulse of life. The pulse of life. When your heartbeat is in tune with the pulse of life, it seems like every single thing you do, is connected. Everything you see, everything you hear is connected. And now let me just say this, because I do have a lot of social work and psychology background. When I'm thinking about stuff like this, it's easy for me to transition back into psychology thinking and psychology mind. And in psychology, a person who believes that every single thing that happens is connected to them would be considered schizophrenic, or they have a dissociative identity disorder. And so I don't know, there is a dissociative identity disorder is funny because it's talking about disassociating to the point where you don't have any real self, right? You don't have any real self. So then everything that's happening and everything that you see around you is connecting to you. It is important because you've placed some importance on it, right? I hope that makes sense how I'm trying to explain that. But it's ironic to me that that's one of the conditions that is most commonly tied to like spiritual, like ascension and spiritual awakening, is dissociative identity disorder. It's basically saying I don't know who I am most of the times, or what place I'm in, or if I'm a real person or not, every day. So of course we can blur those lines and cross over into that territory when we are talking about things like reincarnation and the Galactic Federation, and all these things that of course are seen as made up or whatever. I'm not sure why I went into that, but I just find it ironic that the fact that we get to a point where we're so in tune, we're seeing synchronicities in everyday life. Everything is a synchronicity. This person said this, and then that person said the exact same thing, the same words. It's almost as if I heard the same voice twice. That's what it feels like when you're tied in, and it's not scary. It doesn't cause fear. It doesn't cause anxiety or paranoia. It's pure. You know what I mean? It's pure connectivity. Mm-hmm. Spiritual sovereignty. Mm-hmm. I feel like I read that one to us before, the Estasani. I honestly need to read more about that group. I feel like I read it, but certain information stays. Um, and other information I literally have to like follow up on, read multiple times before it'll implant. Why does my laptop vibrate when I rub my hands on it? Is that like a thing? Oh, it is. Okay. Spiritual sovereignty. I do feel like there is a sense that over focus on spiritual matters or the spiritual aspects of life can be causing kind of like a weird effect right now. I do feel like when there's an over focus on one area, like for instance, spirituality, it can put you in a place where you are trying to, well, you're trying to control the destiny. It's already been shown. And so you're trying to walk in alignment. You're trying to walk in alignment to the T of what you were shown, or you're trying to it's like you stress yourself out. The reality is that your course of actions, your future self, it already takes place. So you really don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to happen or how it's going to happen or what you need to do to make it happen. You can have that surety that it's going to happen because you already saw it down there. They talk about that with manifestation, but in essence, I feel like, when we can see something that clearly, then it's not a question of if, it's not even an issue of trying to make it happen, but just showing up in the best way we can, right? Following that pulse of life. I'm gonna read that card because I feel like that's standing out to me. The Galactic Core. Solar consciousness. I feel like, you guys who listen, well, minus one of y'all, because I think one of y'all is spy. But anyway, there is one energy that's standing out here, and it's definitely an energy of ascension after releasing control. Okay, after releasing control and giving your life over, or giving yourself over to your spiritual calling, your life purpose, or your personal path. It's almost as if you reach this I said solar consciousness, right? What's solar? Solar is the sun. So this solar consciousness meaning that one, you could step into a role as an illuminator, as an enlightener. This doesn't have enlightener anyway. A source of enlightenment. This is not just to say that everybody here is a Buddha, or a Jesus or whatever. But in essence, kind of like we are, right? This is saying that there has been a rise for sure. Planetary wise, I think we're doing really good because there's only this one card here that talks about the delusion of control. And everything else is more high vibrational and more kind of like attuned, it feels like. So I feel like that's definitely a big emphasis about how the collective in a whole is doing, you know what I mean? Like letting go of um rigidity, and I'm also feeling like, you know how they talk about somebody fighting tooth and nail for something, or like um um what's the word? I don't even know how they say it. There's a saying where it talks about having missing parts of yourself, but like you holding on to this thing, even though your fingers are bleeding and your skin is falling off and it's on fire now, and it's actually just a nub now. Like you're still holding on to that thing, even though so many things have come through to let you know that you can let it go, right? Um, for all of us, that's something different. For Janae, but that is dang tarot. They told me a long time ago, you don't need it. See, they say they want you to be able to connect without interference. So whatever that is for you, I know my thing is tangible pictures and things like that I can utilize, um, that can stimulate my psyche to help produce, or not produce, but to help translate messages and things like that. Some messages I produce, but most of them are translated, right? It's almost like needing spirit to have a certain form in order for you to trust it. And it's not letting other it's not that it's blocking it, but other areas are now slower to progress because of a crutch for some. That applies for me, right? Wow. I'm just saw like a blind person. So there's this thing about trusting your spiritual sight and your spiritual knowing more, obviously compared to physical sight, what's tangible. I shared something with the group. I think it was this morning. I don't know for sure though, but it was about me marrying Archangel Michael like a few years ago. And although I felt like that was really, I mean, it went, even when I shared it on the video, it felt weird. Greetings, Vicky. Greetings, Angela. Even when I shared it on the video, it felt awkward to say, right? It felt awkward to say. And ultimately, though, Archangel Michael is a protector, is a truth, like it's about clarity and truth. Um, so Archangel Michael is an energy that supports those things, right? But anyway, I was talking about that and it was just weird because it made me feel strange. But the reality is, excuse me, y'all, I'm about to go to bed. I don't think I'll be able to stay with y'all that long tonight. Thumbs up. We're getting a thumbs up. We're getting a good job. Good job. Kudos. I feel really, really tired right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to stay too long trying to translate anything. Typically when I'm super tired like that, it ain't going to be right anyway. Find your way home. Okay. Sirius. Anyway, I'm not going to go through that with y'all right now because when I was getting on this live, I was tempted to specifically name the group or the star system that I wanted to practice channeling with, and I got too nervous to do it, so I didn't. I didn't want to put it there and have people's expectations high, and then I wouldn't know what was coming through. Okay, I wouldn't know what was being said. So that I got nervous and I just decided not to put it in there and to just see what came through. And now I feel like a wimp, like Could have just did it, right? But anyway, tis tis life. Tis life. Oh God, I'm trying to find a book. Where is it? Goodness gracious, I'm not finding that book. Would really love to read that message. Actually, I'm getting up to get it because I said I was going to do it. Oh. Okay. It was right over there too, so obviously just wanted me to give up. The Pulse of Life, Galactic Core, Parallel Realities. Like a great galactic clock, the galaxy's core calibrates the rhythm of the evolution of consciousness through its wave emissions. Ancient civilizations such as the Maya were fully connected to it and were able to plot a galactic calendar using its wisdom. All life, including you, can feel the pulse from the core. Look out into the night sky and connect with the dark spot in the Milky Way. Let yourself breathe in this energy, resetting you to the natural pulse of the universe. You cannot rush evolution. This is the card of trust. Let go and allow the universe to work through you. Yeah, that feels like the message that came through for sure. While creation spans an infinite number of galaxies and states of consciousness, this card represents the energy of our home galaxy. Remember, I was saying find your way home. So some of y'all might literally be able to connect tonight. I know it's raining outside where I am, but if you feel like that was a message for you, go out there and look for the dark spot in the sky and breathe it in, and see if you feel connected to home. All right, at the center of the galaxy, at the center of any galaxy, the core acts like a metronome, almost like a heartbeat that guides the pace of evolution of all the consciousness in that particular galaxy. The Maya and other ancient civilizations understood this great role played by the galactic core and were able to interpret this pulse through their advanced calendar system that described the process of evolution from separation back into unity. Everyone is attuned to this metronome, but only some can feel it. In the year 2012, our solar system crossed over the galactic disk, beginning a new 13,000-year cycle of evolution. We are now able to access a whole new energy that facilitates integration and evolution through this new cycle. Some have also called this the rising of the cosmic feminine. If this card has come up in your reading, then it's either acknowledging your innate connection to this galactic pulse or it is encouraging you to begin developing it. When you do this, the cosmic plan unfolds within you and it becomes so much easier to connect with the higher self and flow with the natural currents of life instead of trying to manipulate events with the ego personality. Connecting with this energy brings a tremendous sense of peace and stillness and truly facilitates your journey back home. Wow, truly facilitates your journey back home. And that card was literally find your way back home. I think that this is really speaking to what we spoke about, of course, but also as a collective, we're doing all these things, we're judging each other, we're pushing each other, we're criticizing each other, we're doing all these things, but truly we have no control. Like we don't have control over anybody's process. And as a matter of fact, you don't have control over yours, honestly. The only control you have is the choice to say, I'm going to be here present in it. I'm not going to overreact to outside stimuli. That's all you really have control over is your literal being, not your life, honestly. Okay, but your literal being will dictate how this process goes when it comes to how resistant you are to different challenges, how emotionally connected you are to certain people, things, how detached you can be, so your own personal being and reactions will facilitate the progress, but you won't be able to control it. You won't be able to dictate whether this is supposed to be your path or that's supposed to be your path. It's like if you are really in tune with the pulse of life, then you will feel it. You will feel that path. You'll feel that one. And you may even choose one that isn't quote unquote the right one, right? You may choose one, but even that is a lesson in you really didn't it what didn't matter. You didn't have control. Because even when we choose this other path, somehow we still end up getting to where we're supposed to get to. Um, Not everybody ends up in the place they were supposed to get to, but if as long as you are still carrying that awareness and you are still seeking higher wisdom, you are still seeking self-development, there's no way you don't reach it. There's no way you don't reach it. Reach whatever it is that you feel like you're supposed to be reaching, right? So that card, I think I'm glad I read it because it definitely speaks to what we were talking about. This has been I feel like this has also been done time and time again when it comes to not just like inhabiting Earth. The same thing has happened multiple times, trying to rush consciousness. Who was it? Not the Zeta Reticuli. That tried to rush an evolution process. They basically, what they did was they focused solely on mathematics, science, and like technological advances instead of the whole picture. So what they were trying to do was progress intellectually, and they had left behind like the heart, the body, everything else, right? So all in hopes to rush it, which if I could remember which group that was, that would be nice, but I can't. Um, and I'm not mad about it. Okay. I'm picking up this energy of like different little portals. They could basically go overlooked, but they're all over the place. And I mean they're in patterns like mandalas, they're in all these different things. They're in I'm sorry, but my ear is like doing crazy right now. Sometimes it happens when I'm like attempted to channel messages, right? My ears will get weird. So they're talking about portals. These little bitty portals can be in anything, in prints on your clothes, uh, in jewelry. Like, cause I'm literally seeing like a ring setting, like a diamond, like a center diamond and rings around it. That was a portal. I don't know whose ring that is, but also, I'm seeing like a belly button. Belly button. That actually makes sense to me. With the navel is and then biblical cord, so that kind of makes sense to me. What else about these little portals? These little bitty portals. Um, they're. I think it's like an. I mean, they're saying that it's everywhere. So, flowers. Okay, flowers. I'm seeing a pine cone too. So just pay attention to these little patterns that stand out to you. Little patterns that stand out to you, and I'm picking up this energy of like repeating patterns. So it may be a certain pattern and then you may see a likeness of that same type of pattern around. You just give it some time, like give it some time and attention and see what happens. Remember guys, I was talking about those fractals. I think that was this morning. So I'm about those fractals, and I believe that each one is activation. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about, is that there's portals, little portals that are all over the place. Um, you open some with dancing, with singing. Okay, all right. Okay. Let's read solar consciousness. Solar consciousness is the solar system. So you have the solar system and the galactic core here, and I don't think that's because it's taking us out of the lineages and putting us into something that is not ever being. These things have never been. A solar system has never been destroyed. The galactic core has never been destroyed. So there is something here about like what always remains. What always remains after life ceases. What always remains after life ceases. And I'm picking up on like an essence. What's that movie on Netflix? The Black Box. Excuse me. Mhm. The black box, where consciousness is transferred from a deceased person to a living person. Uh, and that's literally the whole consciousness. That's memories. That's everything. So what it is that by connect. Okay, so if you felt like you were being talked to when we talked about going out and looking into the sky tonight, the galactic core holds all memory of everything that is ever taking place. In physical Earth, right? In physical Earth, planets, whatever, in the solar system. So if you, okay, so they're telling me, it's like find your way back home. So that's a message for me and for whoever else feels like it resonates. That's a connection and that a lot of information is going to come through it. I feel like a lot of information is going to come through it. Trial and error. Thank you, because I'm over here sitting like, what am I even saying right now? Like, I'm literally thinking that to myself, like, what am I saying? And trial and error came up, and it's kind of like a vote of just like a pat on the back, like it's okay, you're figuring it out, you're getting it, just keep going. Like, y'all don't understand how this is for me, because I'm used to being really good at things in general, just being good at stuff, and not taking a lot of work. And so this is difficult to be here on this and not really knowing 100% what I'm talking about or saying, letting you guys see me in a different way than I'm used to being seen. Okay, let me just talk about that though, because I feel like I just need to get it out. So in school, I was always a student. I was always a star student. Growing up, I was a good kid. Nobody really had to worry about me for the most part. And then when I went to military, same concept, same energy of striving to be good, striving to be seen as one of the best, which I still felt like that in the military, even though I didn't reach the ranks and things like that I really set out to when I first joined. But I still felt like I was a subject matter expert, and I felt like even higher ups, when they didn't have an answer, that they could come to me and get an answer. So there's a vulnerability that's definitely being experienced when it comes to having to admit on a regular basis that I don't know, that I'm still learning. And I feel like that also comes from being put into positions of responsibility a lot from a very young age. Okay. Because it's almost this sense of like, you need to know, and you have to have, a good handle on these things. You need to understand. You need to be able to do this, A, B, C, and D. So it's carried for a little while. Let me go ahead and read this message to y'all though. Solar system, solar consciousness. Our solar system archetypally represents all the aspects of human consciousness. This is visible through astrology. The sun represents our highest potential of consciousness, the higher self. We talked about the sun a while ago. There we go. That's the message. The sun represents our highest potential of consciousness, the higher self. This is the higher self card. You have pulled this card because either you have already have a strong connection to your higher self, or now it's time to develop it. I feel like with all of these here that, we are definitely already connected. to our higher selves and to higher selves, higher selves then, right? I feel like we really are, with the type of cards that came out. Um, it says you have pulled this card because you're either already have a strong connection or are being told to develop it now. This is also a card of integration. Solar consciousness compels us to integrate our parts and become whole again. This process happens naturally as we connect with and become the higher self. The process has begun. So whether you feel like you already have that deep connection, it's definitely a vote of confidence or validation that the process definitely has begun. This is a highly archetypal, powerful card, one of the most powerful in the deck in terms of personal evolution. It can represent the sun of our solar system, soul, or the archetypal energy of any sun or star. It represents the bright light of awareness or the higher self. This is the energy that guides us, a consciousness beyond human personality that is the awesome awareness of all creation itself. If it came up in your reading, then it could mean several things depending on your situation. It could be acknowledging the connection with your higher self that you are already utilizing, or even a spirit guide who brings you messages from this higher aspect of yourself. Or if you don't feel particularly connected to your higher self, it could be a message that you need now to make this the connection. The energy is strongly present, so why not learn to use it? Your higher self is most likely sending a message to you, and it's likely you know what the message is, even if you don't want to fully acknowledge it. The energy of any star in its raw form is a direct representation of the intelligence of creation itself, pure consciousness. It hasn't fragmented or individuated, it exists in a fully integrated state. This energy is present for you and is, in a sense, waiting for you to acknowledge it or accept its presence in your life. Even those people who feel fully connected to their higher selves can always go deeper. Um, yeah, my daughter was singing something or saying something. I think she was singing it. You have to go a little deeper, dig a little. Oh, it's a song from Princess and the Frog. When they went to go see the medicine woman, and she sang them that song about looking a little deeper, going a little deeper. And my daughter's been singing that, so it's standing out for me. What else do we have here? Alienness with the Zeta Reticuli. This book. The Zeta Reticuli card, or not? Did I say Zeta Reticuli? Okay, anyway. I meant non-humanoid. Alienness. Non-humanoid. Okay. All right. So for somebody, I received this message too, by the way. I just heard, well, you're not human, and we've been trying to tell you that for some time now. So, okay. Anyway, if that resonates with you, then so be it. If not, let me be a weirdo by myself. The energy of this card refers to the sense of alienness that many humans that keeps them from feeling connected to life on planet Earth. Many feel strange in their own skin as if they came from somewhere else. You may indeed have a connection to non-human beings, but because you are human in this life, this card asks you to begin embracing your uniqueness and celebrate it rather than fear it or be ashamed of it. If you need help, ask for loving non-human beings to assist you during meditation. Feel their alienness and open your heart to them anyway. You and they are one. I've been seeing these more like dark figures, more shadows and stuff like that out of the corner of my eye. And what I've been trying to do is, like, when I see it, rather than like quickly shifting away from it, I try to just kind of stay in it, looking in that same direction, or like just kind of trying to communicate in openness, right? And just trying to communicate in openness. And by doing so, I feel like, one, I get more comfortable with the fact um that I'm safe, okay? And then, I imagine that whoever, whatever is trying to embrace me or connect with me, also will feel safe. Like, okay, I can go. She ain't gonna try to sage me out or nothing like that, right? Um, this is one of the deck's few archetypal cards that does not necessarily point to a specific species, but rather a state of consciousness that is affecting you now. I said that earlier. I said we had three cards in here. Half of the cards here, we're not talking about reality or lineage. It was talking about again, like I said, a state of consciousness. Okay. In terms of our galactic family, it may symbolize a connection to any number of non-humanoid races with whom you may have connections. You may already know who they are. If you don't, it isn't so important that you do. There are a myriad of non-human species in creation. Okay, I'm gonna share something with you in a second. The main idea is to examine any feelings of alienness that you may have, of not belonging or being different. Often, this feeling keeps us disconnected from life or gives us excuses to not engage in this reality. True. Again, look to the other cards in the spread to see if there are any repeating themes, such as number 22, 28, 29, or 83. We have none. If there's someone in your life who seems alien or different from you, or are you having trouble embracing him or her? How can you engage yourself more in life on Earth? How can you integrate feelings of being different with being part of a global or galactic community? Ultimately, our journey is about integration, and that means embracing all of our parts, even those that seem alien to us. Yeah, yeah, totally. The thing that I was going to share with you guys is that I've been asking to understand this dream. I had this dream 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, almost. And in this dream, I was in this neighborhood, and the neighborhood was full of beings that were not human, but they were like little things. They were put together. They had like the one thing that I remember so vividly was kind of like it had like a Frankenstein type of vibe, but I just remember it was a big, bulky, like a human body with a head, a bald head. It was pale skinned or like white skin, and it had nails and things like all in his head. And there was it was like, and I was in this thing's house, and it was fixing me a drink. It was like giving me, it was taking care of me, like it was like it was another human, But this whole neighborhood was different varieties. Like none of the beings were the same, and they were all just as I guess abstract, their appearance. But even now I'm seeing part of the dream where I looked out into the cul-de-sac of this little neighborhood, and there was kids coming home from school, and the kids even have like all these, they were weird, they were just weird, non-human, like they were just, and I guess the fact that they didn't look like aliens, but they looked like monsters or like creations of some sort. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of makes me think of like Edward Scissorhands or whatever, even though it wasn't totally like that. So maybe that dream was some kind of exploration of that, like alienness, or some of the beings that, I still don't know, but as I've been reading, it's been making sense. It'll make sense, Holmes, if he let it. Okay, anyway, anything else? Spiritual commitment. That a lot of these dreams and visions and things like that I see literally have not made sense this whole time. I just been sitting with them. If pieces or symbols that I remember come up, then they make sense, and then I'm able to move forward. But that dream in specific, and I feel like I had it the same night or within the same time frame of another very significant dream, that was tied to the military. And I think that was more like one of those duns, the underground military suites and stuff like that. Because in that dream, it was very weird. I was just dressed in a tan, like military type uniform. It was just tan though. And I remember I had forgotten my boots. I didn't have boots. And I was in this building, and I'm talking to a higher ranking person, and I'm talking to like another soldier, I guess. And I remember eating snacks in there. See, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of random because I like ate snacks in there. I remember that I didn't have my boots, and I had to go find boots. I remember a ramp being inside of this building, like a ramp, carpeted ramp. Like again, some of these things don't make sense. They just be there in my mind for whatever reason. I guess they'll make sense one day. In modern times, we're reading Spiritual Commitment, Vega. In modern times, very often we only make a spiritual commitment when we are in pain. Ooh. When the pain goes away, we become busy with the distractions of life and no longer remember our commitment. Ooh. The vegans never lost their spiritual commitments and wove them into their everyday lives in so many enriching ways. This card asks you to look honestly at your spiritual commitments. How can you strengthen them no matter whether you are feeling pain or joy? Go deep within and find the longing to be one with the universe. Remember that longing and your commitment can begin there. This also came up in a reading earlier this morning too about people who want, no, this wasn't this morning, but anyway, people who want, the spiritual knowledge, the wisdom, the keys, but won't commit to doing the work, won't study, won't meditate, won't eat right. I'm in there with you with the eating right thing, but all things in balance, right? So we got to make sure we are giving as much as we want to be receiving in essence and in relation to the spiritual relationship, and spiritual wisdom and knowledge is a gift, and we have to show gratitude for those gifts. The text for this card acknowledges the immense self-discipline of the vegan mystics of ancient times. Through their dedication and spiritual practices, they gave many gifts to their descendants, including the mystical schools on earth. Yeah, see? This card points to the truth that spiritual evolution cannot take place without a commitment. This may be a commitment to a specific practice, such as yoga or meditation, or it may mean a commitment to becoming the clearest and most balanced human being you can become, and taking the actions needed to do so. Ashe. If this card came up in your reading, take a look at the surrounding cards and your life circumstances for more clues. Most likely, this card is reminding you to stay focused and committed on your spiritual path, even when it's not convenient or enjoyable to do so. Yeah. Those are the times when growth is most pronounced. Sometimes people don't know what kind of practice to commit to. Know that the type of practice is less important than simply making the commitment. As long as the practice isn't a comfortable distraction instead of an authentic path that helps you see yourself clearly. Taking this time to connect with your inner self through whatever practice suits you is one of the most important gifts you can give to yourself and to the planet. Yeah. I feel like that's a message of, non-committal beings. Not non-committal in the fact that I lack discipline, but non-committal in the fact that I haven't seen a need to commit fully to anything. I mean, I commit fully while I'm doing it, right? But the attachment, I think I'm overly detached from things when it comes to practices and things like that. I feel like tarot and meditation are the only things that I've been able to really like. Yeah, I'm good here. But there's fruit. So I mean, I don't think that there's admonishment here. I just feel like it's asking if you've already been fairly committed in certain areas, challenge yourself a little more. See what else you can do. And it's not about you seeing what you can do. Really, it's more so about like knowing that there's a deeper level of commitment. There's a deeper level of connection. There's a deeper level of understanding always. So if you feel like you're comfortable, then it's saying, okay, well, now it's time to get a little uncomfortable again, because in our comfort, we'll start slipping back into that idea that we have control. We'll slip back into 3D thinking about reality if we don't continue to evolve and grow and develop ourselves. 36, I was going to read Delusion of Control. I don't feel like I've ever read this one. Within the Orion system, okay, first of all, Delusion of Control is talking about, for us, is talking about outside entities, physical entities here even, that are trying to block this, make us feel that do make us feel like we don't belong here, that do make us long after somewhere else. No more chasing after distant shores anymore. I am the fucking sea. Anyway. This is talking about just like owning who you are. And then these people who have this delusion of control, that we about to read about them right now. But Don't let that affect what you're doing, what you know you're focused in on. Within the Orion system, the dark forces saw control at all costs. They need for control the need for control of your reality comes from the ego and is based purely on delusion. We cannot truly control anything, as only the universe, through its infinite wisdom, keeps everything in balance. Your need for control is a deep karmic pattern that is ready to be released. First, you must look deeply at the habits, patterns, and beliefs in your life that reinforce the feeling that you are in control. Practice letting go and trusting. When the urge to control arises, take a deep breath and remember that it is only the desire of a fearful ego. During the darkest times in Orion history in this area, the Empire tried to exert control of nearly every aspect of life. Even if you imagine the most oppressive regimes on Earth, they would represent perhaps only 20% of the intensity of this era of Orion. Humans carry memories of these oppressive times and are still trying to heal those traumas, right? One of the ways in which polarity plays itself out in human reality is through the idea of how human ego wishes to control reality, when in fact reality cannot be controlled because there is a greater force, God, or whatever you wish to call it, that keeps everything in balance. So the more the ego feels powerless, the more it tries to control. This delusion of control has kept us stuck for millennia. People and groups have tried to exert control from religions to politics, trying not only to control conditions, but thought as well. It simply doesn't work, and this is the lesson the Orions had to learn in very painful ways. Here on Earth, we have egos that try to control our realities, and ultimately, it is never successful. If this card came up in your reading, it is asking you to look honestly and closely at how you try to control reality, including the people and conditions around you. Know that it is impossible to do so. So why keep trying? The message behind this card is to begin to heal that need for control and learn to surrender, letting go to the wise flow of the universe. This is the only way the planet and her people will not only survive, but flourish and move to the next stage of human evolution. I feel like this is speaking to us very heavily about, taking a little pressure off of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It's not saying that we can't live the lives that we deserve to live, or that we are not in fact co-creating this reality, but it's saying that I think it's really telling us not to be putting so much pressure on ourselves about the right or wrong decisions. Now what's moral and righteous is one thing, but as like for instance, well, will my business do better here, or will it do business if I move to Arizona? It's a very rational question to ask, but I feel like it's also one that seeks to say I have the power to make the control, and whatever choice I make will determine whether it's going to be successful or not. And I know that's kind of like how we think rationally, but this card is literally saying we need you to surrender to that, like surrender that, not surrender to it, but surrender that. Okay, Galactic Program in Light Language. Yesterday in the live, someone asked me if I spoke light language. So apparently I'm about to get that activation. Thank you for asking me the question. But again, many of you also see, because the light language says you have been receiving galactic light language transmissions. You know what? We were just talking about this because I said, what was said? Something about little bitty portals that can be everywhere, that are in everything. Okay, so I think that's what this is talking about, light language. Now, I want you to look at, I don't know if y'all gonna be able to see these symbols. You can see some of them. All right, so light language. Galactic Program and Light Language. These are the only two cards I'm going to read, and then I'm going to get off of here and go to sleep. 5858 when I said that, so I'm going to look that up later and see what it's talking about. Galactic Program. If you drew this card, you have been or are in your astral dream time working within the Galactic Space Program. This is not to be confused with the Secret Space Program. It is run completely by the Galactic Federation of Planets and other councils, such as the Orion Council. Ashe. This would be some of the ships protecting Earth and other planets from invaders. The ships, such as the Arcturians, are some of the most technologically advanced ships in all of the galaxy. Even the Alpha Draconians fear their ships. Fear their ships. These are some of the motherships that people have seen in our skies. And I literally just got this piercing feeling in my head when I was reading it. So we're gonna move on to mm, light language. Not only may you have the telepathic abilities to communicate with extraterrestrials, okay, but you may have a special ability to share insight you receive from them with your psychic abilities. As a galactic channel, you may write and speak galactic light language. You may also write music. Okay. Seeing channel messages of wisdom from the stars. Sometimes there may be translations, but it is not always necessary. Messages can often come in forms of statements, but can also include answers to your questions. Set your intention to receive positive and helpful communications and enjoy a personal relationship with your extraterrestrial guides, allowing others to enjoy and learn from it as well. Well, Ashe, thank you for letting me know that that's what I'm doing right now. And I said I was only going to read these two, but I lied because now I want to see what, what the third message is going to be. But because I really was going to pull three, and then I said I was only going to do two. So three it is. What other message do you want to add for me in this collective? Anybody who might come to see this? What do you want me to hear and receive tied to this? MK Ultra. That's the one that came out, so I'm going to read that one. Okay, so some galactic program light language, and MK Ultra says you may be a survivor of MK Ultra projects. That makes sense. So this is probably why it could have been, if you escaped the Matrix, then you could be lined up somehow in a line of people who are qualified or who have shown commitment. Remember that other message that you have shown commitment. You've released this delusion of control, or you are aware of the delusion of control, even if it is not fully released. MK Ultra could be specifically the delusion of control that they're talking about, because MK Ultra is not a totally extraterrestrial program. It is definitely a partnership between government and extraterrestrials, from what I understand. You may have been in these programs. On April 13th, 1953, Alan Dulles authorized the creation of MK Ultra projects, an umbrella project which would eventually grow to 149 sub-projects, and it's even more now, using systems of torture, drugs, hypnosis, electric shock, waterboarding, ritual abuse to mind control subjects, which causes the psyche to split into alters and follow any order given. Below are some of the mind control programs they are forced into. Alpha, general programming. This is the first put in. It includes giving slaves a photographic memory that records everything, everything altered. Sorry. It includes giving slaves a photographic memory that records everything every alter sees or hears. Yo, for 2 years, I've been super paranoid about my phone recording me, when actually this is what they're telling me, because I was telling, I've been having conversations about this. I know that the people around me have been thinking I'm strange and losing my mind for years now, but coming across this information is very healing to me. Okay. Because what I was seeing and feeling, and even my little brother before he passed away, was also saying that he was experiencing some of these types of things. Also like gang stalking and stuff like that. He also said that he was experiencing flashing lights, like in his bedroom windows, or like he would be walking down the street and seeing these lights. And a lot of that is tied to this, but we won't get into it tonight just for the sake of time. But maybe there'll be, I would love to have more understanding about that. So I'm asking for more understanding about what it was that my brother was trying to communicate to me before he passed away. So I'm putting that out there for, just so y'all know, I'm putting it out there so that, over the next few days, any downloads or anything, my guides will see it fit, hopefully, to put answers into them, right? I say hopefully, but they always do. Okay, so we have the alpha program, which is, again, the photographic memory that records everything your alters see or hear. And then beta is the sexual programming. These alters are instructed in the art of seduction and sexual pleasure. Betas are forced to take part in ritual sex, acting in or directing child pornography or prostitution. Top betas are known as presidential models. Delta. I'm sorry, but that one just sat wrong in my brain. Okay. There's a false teaching. It's not false, it's a mask. There's a mask over tantric studies. So be careful if you're interested in tantric studies, because it's a legit practice. I mean, I'm not saying it's not legit, but what I'm hearing is that some of the practitioners or teachers, or even just the lineages in general, are tied to MK Ultra, and so some of the rituals or things that you might learn or that you might do are not really connected to the spiritual, like to the right things. I don't know. And the sexual energy is not Kundalini energy, is what I'm saying. Okay. So these alters are instructed in the art of seduction and sexual pleasure. Betas are forced to take part in ritual sex, acting in or directing child pornography and prostitution. Top betas are known as presidential models. Delta, assassination programming, alters trained in combat, assassination, and espionage. Theta, psychic killer programming. Psychic assassins, able to cause aneurysms from anywhere. Yo, my little brother, I'm just going to share this because it's resonating. My little brother, they said he was having seizures, epileptic seizures. And when he was talking to me about it, he was very sure that he was not having epileptic seizures, that there was other things going on with him. He was having visions or memories of sexual activity, even though he didn't remember having sex. He said he would wake up and he would feel as if he had had sex. And then he said something else that stood out about he would always, after those types of situations, he would always wake up to money on his like nightstand or something. It was weird because then, of course, it makes you feel like somebody in the house is doing something. He also talked about, well, he did feel like he was being sexually abused by someone in the house, but that was something that you can't really just say, because you can't say it unless you know it. Anyway, he didn't feel safe to say it, is what I'm saying. I'm sharing all of this to say that the way he passed away was in our front yard. Supposedly, he just had a seizure and passed out, busted his face on the ground, and just died. That's supposedly the story. I don't believe it. Like, I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that that's what the situation was. I honestly feel like, a lot of the conversations he was having with me too, leading up to his passing, would speak to something else happening. And yeah, okay, back to it. Basically, in the psychic killing program, psychic assassins are able to cause aneurysms from anywhere, anytime. They telepathically communicate with Mother Gamma. Deception programming. These alters are trained as deceivers. They spread disinformation, are in place of power and prestige. Omega. Suicide programming. Alters programmed for self-mutilation and self-destruction. Sleeper alters are programmed to be Manchurian candidates. They are often programmed to be terrorists and assassins. They are also part of the perps and gaslighting and targeting programs against Americans. I just saw, how people talk about the I mean, for years I've been talking about, what was that? Somebody said it in the chat the other day, talking about bath salts. And of course I didn't know nothing. I didn't know what that person was talking about. I didn't know if they was talking about like soaking salts or like actual bath salts, like the drug bath salts. Um, but for me, when they said that, it did make me think of what we were seeing when bath salts first came on the scene. I don't know if y'all remember this, but I was in Florida when this happened, like 2009 or 10, I think. And this man ate this other man's face off, high on what they called at that time bath salts. He ate this man's face off. And, you know, I remember thinking to myself, yeah, you had to be high to do something like that. But no, maybe you wasn't. Maybe you were high. Maybe you were under the influence of drugs, but you had to be under something else, under some other kind of control to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to read that actually again, because those different levels, alpha through theta, actually resonate with me. I feel like I have come into contact with seemingly human people who are, excuse me, embodying those things, those characteristics or whatever. I'm sure you have too, because remember how we talk about microcosm, macrocosm? A lot of galactic stuff it will make sense because it's the same stuff. Just like a lot of spiritual, it's the same stuff. It's just a different vibration of it. It's a different vibration of it. Same stuff, just a different vibration of it. Yeah, I'm done, y'all. Oh, 11111 11111 was just on there. I'm about to go look at the moon and see if I can find my way home. All right, peace, y'all.